Hi, it's Larissa Schippers, and I'll be talking about dress and appearance and focusing specifically on the school that I work at, Oak Harbor Middle School in Washington State. So first of all, why does a dress code need to be enforced? One, to keep students safe. If a student was wearing baggy pants, for example, and there was no policy on that, he could trip, hurt himself, or others. To promote a learning environment, we're at school to learn, and so the focus should not be on clothing, fashion, what we're wearing, what we're not wearing. It should be on education. And to teach students self-respect, to help them realize they don't need to wear tight clothing or short clothing to get attention, that they need to be true to themselves and show self-respect. Statistics with dress code policies: 57% of public schools have strict dress codes, and 1 in 5 public schools required school uniforms in 2010. And what I've noticed from researching on the internet is that there is a trend and a rise in schools wanting to enforce strict dress codes or wanting to implement school uniforms. And I think that's because the fashion is, the fashion trend nowadays is getting worse, so to speak, whereas it's tighter, more see-through, shorter, things like that. And so schools, we want to make sure that we are providing a safe environment for students, and so that's why I think the dress codes are getting stricter. States that authorize schools and districts to implement uniform policies: as you can see, there are several states here, and Washington State, where I'm at, is actually not one of those. Here is the dress code policy for Oak Harbor Middle School, so bear with me while I read this to you. Student dress will be regulated to preserve a beneficial learning environment and to assure the safety and well-being of all students. Dress which presents a health or safety hazard, damages school property, or which creates a material and/or substantial disruption of the educational process is prohibited as per OHSD Policy 3224. Students will wear appropriate school attire, including shoes. Appropriate attire shall exclude any type of dress or manner of grooming which school officials reasonably believe would disrupt or interfere with the school environment, activities, and/or educational process. The following are not permitted: attire that shows or displays undergarments, inadequately covers chest, breast, midriff, buttocks, or thighs. Shorts and skirts should be at least fingertip length with arms resting at sides. Pants, shorts, and skirts are to be pulled up and worn around the waist. Attire and jewelry that display messages or symbols that are obscene, sexual, drug, tobacco, or alcohol-related, discriminatory, offensive, prejudicial, or gang-related, including but not limited to all bandanas or bandana pattern clothing. Writing or drawing on clothing or skin is not allowed. Any clothing that would create an atmosphere in which a student, staff member, or other person's well-being is hindered by undue pressure, behavior, intimidation, overt gesture, or threat of violence, including chains and other sharp and/or metal objects. Head apparel, other than that which is religious in nature, may not be worn inside the building and must be stored in the student's locker when at school. Sunglasses and outwear, coats, jackets, are to be stored in lockers during class time. These rules can be waived in the event of a diagnosed medical concern. Sleeveless shirts that do not cover the shoulders or back, including tank tops, spaghetti strap, and halter tops. Sleeveless tops must be 2 finger width at the shoulder. Pajamas or other sleepwear and soft-soled slippers. No writing on yourself or others. These standards will be applied in a consistent and non-discriminatory manner. Students who violate these standards will be asked to change into appropriate attire. Students that continue to violate dress code standards will be subject to progressive discipline. Any student, parent, or guardian disagrees by the corrective action or discipline for dress code violations may appeal according to procedures in the Student Rights and Responsibilities Policy 3200. So far, I've been at Oak Harbor Middle School for not even a year, but I haven't seen a issue with the dress code policy at my school. However, I know spring is coming up soon, and students will probably start wearing tank tops and things like that, so we'll have to be sure to enforce those types of things. But overall, I haven't seen any violations so far. But what would happen if there was no dress code policy? There would be a focus on fashion and not education, inappropriate clothing, which could also result in inappropriate behavior, and I think that obviously shows that students would not be in a safe environment at school. And there would be a lack of respect. Students would have a lack of respect for themselves and for other people as well. The role of a teacher is to enforce the dress code policy. I think a great idea is for teachers and students to go over the policy together so that it is actually read. We know students have gone over it, read it, versus handing them a planner at the beginning of the year and telling them to read it, but reality is the majority probably won't. To model the dress code policy, to show that we respect and we honor the dress code by dressing professionally and not violating any of our school's policies. To take necessary actions with students who do not obey the dress code policy. I think it's important that that teachers do communicate with students when they do see a dress code violation, because that shows that we take it seriously and that we want this to be a safe environment. And when you do talk with a student about a dress code violation, I think it's important to do it privately versus announcing it in front of a whole classroom, because a student might not realize they are violating a policy. And so it might be embarrassing for the student, so that's something that should be done in private. What can we do to remind students of the policy? 1, go over the policy with students. 2, answer student questions on the dress code policy. 3, give clear examples of what's acceptable and unacceptable. As I was reading the policy, I thought, oh wow, we have really, specific dimensions, 2 inches width. But I realized that's really important to have a specific number. That way students have a clear example of, okay, anything above this is okay and anything below this is not okay. And I think it'd be a great idea to place posters in the hallways about the dress code policy and self-respect with clothing, just to give students the message that we take the dress code policy seriously, and just to remind students, when the weather changes and spring's coming up, this is our dress code policy. Please make sure you follow these rules. So I think that would be kind of a neat idea to emphasize to students that we respect the dress code policy and we respect you.